Ladies and gentlemen, life is not about being the richest, the smartest, or the most powerful person in the room. It is about becoming the best version of yourself and making an impact in the short time you are here. Success leaves clues, and through my journey and observing others, I've realized there are 9 rules to win life. Follow them, and no matter where you start, you can rise. Rule 1 Sen. Master your mindset. Your mind is the starting point of everything you will ever achieve in life. Before money, before connections, before opportunities, your thoughts decide your direction. If your mind is weak, even the greatest opportunities will slip through your fingers. But if your mind is strong, even the smallest chance can be turned into a breakthrough. Everything begins with belief. Think about it. Before the airplane ever flew, the Wright brothers carried it in their minds as an unshakable vision. Before a company like Apple or Microsoft existed, they were ideas in the minds of people who dared to think differently. The truth is simple: what you allow in your head becomes the ceiling of your future. The tragedy is that most people lose the battle in their minds long before they lose in reality. They say, I am not smart enough, I am not rich enough, I am not lucky enough. They chain themselves with invisible limits, and those limits become real. It is not that the world refuses to give them opportunities. It is that they have already rejected themselves inside. Imagine a student who convinces himself he will fail the exam even before he opens the paper. His confidence collapses, his focus breaks, and he ends up fulfilling his own negative prophecy. This is how many lives are wasted, not because people lack talent, but because they lack the right mindset to use that talent. Your mind is like soil. Whatever seed you plant will grow. If you plant doubt, fear, and negativity, that is exactly what your life will produce. If you plant faith, discipline, and courage, your life will reflect abundance. The reason many people admire successful athletes, entrepreneurs, or leaders is not only because of their skills, but because of the mindset that keeps them consistent. Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, did not become one of the greatest footballers simply because of natural talent. There are countless talented players who never reached his level. What set him apart was the mindset that said, I will train harder, I will push further, I will never settle. That unshakable mental strength made him legendary. Mindset is also about perspective. The same situation can destroy one person and motivate another, depending on how they choose to see it. When some people face failure, they collapse, thinking it is the end. Others see failure as feedback, as a teacher pointing out what needs to improve. Take Thomas Edison. When asked how he felt after failing thousands of times to create the light bulb, he said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That is the power of mindset. The event is the same, but the meaning you give to it changes everything. To master your mindset, you must become the guardian of your thoughts. The world will constantly feed you negativity, news of crisis, stories of failure, voices that tell you you're not enough. If you let those voices live rent-free in your mind, they will poison your dreams. You need to filter what enters your head, just as carefully as you filter what enters your body. Junk food makes your body weak, and junk thoughts make your mind weak. Surround yourself with people who believe in growth. Read stories that fuel your courage. Speak words that build strength instead of weakness. Because every time you repeat something to yourself, you are programming your mind, and your life will follow that program. Mastering your mindset does not mean ignoring reality. It means facing reality with the belief that you can rise above it. A poor family background does not have to decide your future. Many world leaders and innovators started with nothing, but they carried a vision in their mind that nobody could erase. They chose to see possibilities where others only saw problems. That choice, how to interpret circumstances, is what separates winners from quitters. Finally, mastering your mindset is not a one-time decision, it is a daily discipline. Every morning, you must reset your thoughts, reminding yourself who you are, what you are capable of, and why you cannot afford to quit. Just as muscles grow stronger through exercise, your mind grows stronger every time you resist doubt and choose faith instead. The more you train it, the more unstoppable you become. Rule 20: control your emotions. If your mind sets the direction of your life, then your emotions determine the stability of your journey. You can have the best knowledge, the strongest skills, and even the right opportunities, but if you cannot control your emotions, all of it can collapse in a single moment of weakness. Emotions are powerful forces. Anger, fear, jealousy, and frustration can destroy what you have built in years, while patience, calmness, and emotional intelligence can open doors that logic alone cannot. Winning in life is not about having no emotions. It is about mastering them so they serve you instead of sabotaging you. Think of how many relationships, careers, or partnerships have ended because of uncontrolled anger. One careless word spoken in rage can create wounds that never heal. In the corporate world, leaders who cannot manage their temper lose the trust of their teams. In sport, elites who let frustration take over end up making poor decisions, costing themselves championships. Even in personal life, people who let jealousy or envy rule them end up wasting their energy comparing themselves to others instead of focusing on their own growth. It is not lack of intelligence that holds most people back, it is lack of emotional control. The truth is that life will test you constantly. You will face rejection, betrayal, unfair treatment, and unexpected failures. These moments are designed to shake your emotions, but the real test is not what happens to you. It is how you respond. If every obstacle makes you panic, every insult makes you angry, and every setback makes you quit, then life will keep controlling you. But if you learn to pause, breathe, and respond with clarity instead of reaction, then you start to control life instead of being controlled by it. That pause, that moment of control, is often the difference between regret and victory. Consider the example of Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison, most people would have emerged bitter, angry, and ready to seek revenge. But Mandela chose to control his emotions. He forgave, he united, and he became a leader who healed a nation. That is the power of emotional control. It transforms pain into purpose. On the other hand, history is also full of leaders who let anger or pride destroy their legacy. The lesson is clear: your emotions can either be a prison or a passport, depending on how you master them. Controlling your emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending you do not feel them. It means acknowledging them but choosing not to be ruled by them. When you feel anger rising, it is a signal that something matters deeply to you. But instead of exploding, you can channel that energy into constructive action. When you feel fear, it is a sign that you are stepping into something uncertain. But instead of running, you can use that fear as motivation to prepare better. Emotions are not enemies, they are signals. The problem begins only when you let them drive the car instead of staying in the driver's seat yourself. Science also supports this truth. Studies on emotional intelligence show that people who manage their emotions effectively perform better at work, maintain stronger relationships, and report higher levels of happiness. In fact, research has revealed that emotional intelligence often predicts success more accurately than IQ. Why? Because success is not just about solving technical problems. It is about dealing with people, handling stress, and staying composed when life throws challenges your way. If your emotions collapse under pressure, your decisions will collapse with them. Let's bring this to a practical level. Imagine you are in a heated argument with a colleague. Your first instinct may be to shout, to prove yourself right, to defend your pride. But in that moment, ask yourself, will this outburst solve the problem, or will it create a bigger one? If you pause, breathe, and choose calmness, you protect the relationship, maintain respect, and increase the chance of resolving the issue peacefully. The same principle applies at home. How many parents regret words spoken in anger to their children, words that cut deeper than they ever intended? Mastering emotions is not only about winning at work. It is about protecting the hearts of the people you love. The strongest people are not those who show strength in front of others. The strongest are those who can master themselves in the most difficult moments. Anyone can be kind when life is easy. But real power is shown when you stay calm in the storm, when you forgive instead of taking revenge, when you keep moving forward even though fear is whispering that you should stop. That is emotional control. And that is why it is one of the greatest rules for winning life. Rule 3, value time over money. Time is the one resource that every human being receives in equal measure. Yet it is also the most wasted and underestimated. Whether you are a billionaire or a struggling worker, you have the same 24 hours in a day. The difference is not in the amount of time available, but in how it is used. Money can be lost and regained, careers can collapse and be rebuilt, but once a single moment of time passes, it is gone forever. And yet, many people live as though time is infinite, postponing their dreams, delaying important decisions, and treating their days as though they can always buy them back later. The truth is you cannot. When you study the lives of highly successful people, you notice that their secret is not necessarily superior talent, background, or luck. It is their relationship with time. They treat every hour as an investment, not as something to be carelessly spent. Take Elon Musk as an example. Whether you agree with his methods or not, it is undeniable that he has achieved in a few decades what most people would not even imagine attempting in a lifetime. The difference is his sense of urgency. He values time so deeply that he compresses years of work into months through focus and discipline. Compare this to the average person who spends hours scrolling endlessly on social media or wasting evenings gossiping, and you immediately see why some rise while others remain stagnant. Time is also the great equalizer. A child born into poverty has the same number of hours each day as a child born into wealth. What separates their futures is not their starting point, but how they spend those hours. There are countless stories of individuals who had nothing but time and determination, and through discipline, they built empires. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, grew up in a poor housing complex. He didn't inherit wealth, but he invested his time in learning, in understanding people, and in building relationships. That consistent use of time led him to transform a small coffee business into a global brand. His story proves that valuing time can elevate anyone, no matter where they start. The tragedy is that most people only realize the value of time when it is too late. How often do we hear someone on their deathbed say, "I wish I had made more money"? Almost never. But we do hear them say, "I wish I had spent more time with my family," or "I wish I had pursued my dreams earlier." Regret is the cruel price of wasted time. Imagine someone spending 30 years in a job they hate, always saying, "One day I will start my own business. One day I will chase my passion." Then, suddenly, they look up and realize that one day never arrived because they traded their priceless hours for a salary they did not even enjoy earning. That is the danger of valuing money above time. You might wake up rich in the bank, but bankrupt in life. To truly value time, you must shift how you see your days. Every morning is not just another sunrise. It is a deposit into your life account, and you have the choice whether to spend it wisely or waste it. When you watch television for 3 unnecessary hours, you are not just passing time. You are throwing away 3 hours of your life that could have been invested into your goals, your relationships, or your health. If you save money, it grows with interest. If you save time, it multiplies in the form of knowledge, relationships, opportunities, and peace of mind. That is why time is more powerful than money. It is the soil in which everything else grows. Think also of the people you love. When you choose work over family every single day, telling yourself you will make it up later, what you are really doing is trading irreplaceable memories for temporary earnings. A child does not care how much money you bring home. They care how much time you spend listening to them, laughing with them, guiding them. A spouse does not measure your love in gifts alone, but in the hours you devote to the relationship. If you truly want to live a rich life, invest your time in the people who matter, because relationships are built not with money but with presence. Valuing time does not mean you must never relax or enjoy life. It means being intentional. It means replacing empty hours with meaningful ones. Instead of mindless scrolling, read a book that expands your thinking. Instead of gossiping, have a conversation that inspires growth. Instead of delaying your dreams, take one small step today. Time will always move forward whether you use it or not. The choice is whether you will let it carry you by accident or whether you will direct it with purpose. Rule 40: build relationships, not just connections. In the journey of life, success is never a solo performance. Behind every great achievement, there are people, mentors who guide, friends who support, colleagues who collaborate, and communities that believe. Yet, too many people make the mistake of chasing connections instead of building relationships. A connection is shallow. It is a name in your phone or a handshake at a networking event. A relationship, on the other hand, is rooted in trust, respect, and genuine care. One can fade overnight, but the other can carry you through decades. Winning in life requires you to move beyond superficial interactions and invest in meaningful relationships that last. Think about it. How many people boast about how many contacts they have on LinkedIn or how many followers they have on social media, yet when real challenges strike, they find themselves alone. Numbers may impress on a profile, but numbers do not show up when you are sick in a hospital. when your business collapses, or when you need a hand to lift you. In those moments, it is not the size of your network that matters. It is the depth of your relationships. A single friend who truly believes in you is worth more than 1,000 contacts who barely remember your name. History is filled with examples of great partnerships built on strong relationships. Take the story of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. They were not just two people working together. They were friends who shared a vision, trusted one another, and combined their strengths to create what would become Apple. Their relationship went deeper than business. It was built on respect and a shared dream. The same is true for the Wright brothers. Their trust in each other allowed them to endure countless failures until they finally made the impossible possible. These stories remind us that while talent and hard work matter, relationships often become the multiplier that transforms small efforts into massive success. Building true relationships also requires humility. Many people approach others with a mindset of "what can I get?" instead of "how can I give?" That attitude quickly destroys trust. Genuine relationships grow when you contribute, when you support others without keeping score, and when you care about people as human beings rather than as tools for your own progress. Think about the most respected leaders you know. They are not loved because of their titles, but because they listen, they uplift, and they invest in others. A boss can give you a salary, but a leader who truly cares can give you confidence, vision, and strength. Relationships also carry emotional power that money or titles can never buy. Imagine a person who works day and night, chases money, builds status, but neglects relationships. At the end of the journey, who celebrates their success? Who stands by them in times of weakness? Too often, people realize too late that wealth without relationships feels like an empty victory. On the other hand, someone who values people creates a wealth of memories, loyalty, and love that no bank account can match. Even in business, companies that treat employees as family often outperform those that see workers as disposable. Why? Because people give their best when they feel valued, not when they feel used. Another critical part of building relationships is consistency. You cannot show up only when you need something and expect loyalty in return. Relationships are like gardens. They need watering, attention, and care. If you call a friend only in times of crisis, that bond will eventually fade. But if you check in regularly, celebrate their victories, and stand with them in their struggles, you create a foundation that no storm can shake. Loyalty is earned over time, not demanded in a moment. In today's fast-paced world, it is tempting to treat relationships as transactions. But remember this, a connection is temporary, a relationship is transformational. A connection gets you through the door, but a relationship keeps you in the room. A connection may help you once, but a relationship can change your entire journey. And when life tests you, it will not be your followers or your contacts that carry you forward. It will be the people you built deep, genuine relationships with. Rule 5E, stay humble. No matter how high you climb, success is a double-edged sword. On one side, it rewards you with recognition, comfort, and influence. On the other, it tempts you with pride, arrogance, and the illusion that you are untouchable. Many people can handle failure with resilience, but few can handle success with humility. And yet, humility is the very quality that keeps success sustainable. Without humility, the higher you climb, the easier it is to fall. With humility, no matter how high you rise, you remain grounded, respected, and teachable. Humility does not mean thinking less of yourself. It means thinking of yourself less. It is not weakness, and it does not mean denying your achievements. It means carrying your success with grace and remembering that no matter how great you become, you are still human, and there is always more to learn. Some of the most admired leaders in history, whether in politics, business, or community life, were not the loudest or the most arrogant. They were the ones who listened, who showed respect to people of every level, and who never believed they were too important to serve. Consider Mahatma Gandhi. Despite leading one of the most powerful independence movements in history, he lived simply, dressed humbly, and walked among the people. His humility was not a strategy, it was who he was, and that humility gave him a moral authority that even the most powerful empires could not break. Or take Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men alive. He still lives in the same modest house he bought decades ago, and he is known for his simple habits. His humility is one of the reasons people trust him deeply. It shows that humility is not about what you own or how much power you hold. It is about how you see yourself in relation to others. The danger of losing humility is real, and history is filled with cautionary tales. Think of once great companies that collapsed because their leaders became arrogant, dismissing innovation, ignoring customer needs, or treating employees poorly. Kodak believed it was too powerful to be replaced, yet it resisted change and fell into irrelevance. Leaders who rise to power but forget humility often end up isolated, surrounded by people who fear them rather than respect them. Arrogance blinds them to truth, cuts them off from feedback, and sets them up for a devastating fall. In everyday life, humility shapes relationships as well. Imagine a leader who constantly reminds their team how much smarter they are, who takes credit for every success, and who blames others for every mistake. That leader might enjoy authority for a while, but they will never inspire loyalty. On the other hand, a leader who shares credit, admits mistakes, and treats everyone with respect earns not just obedience but genuine devotion. People naturally follow humility because humility makes others feel valued. Humility also keeps you growing. The moment you believe you have arrived is the moment you stop learning, and when you stop learning, decline begins. Life is always bigger than your current achievements. There will always be someone smarter, younger, faster, or more creative than you. If you carry humility, you can learn from them instead of competing in insecurity. If you carry pride, you will resist learning and eventually get left behind. The humble person welcomes wisdom from any source, even from a child, while the arrogant person rejects advice even when it could save them. Think of humility as an anchor. Success, recognition, and power are like strong winds. If you are not anchored, it can carry you away, make you lose yourself, and leave you drifting. Humility is what keeps your feet on the ground. It reminds you of where you started, of the people who helped you along the way, and of the responsibility that comes with your blessings. A humble person celebrates success but does not boast, accepts honor but does not demand it, and seeks growth instead of applause. And here is the paradox: humility does not reduce your greatness, it amplifies it. People admire talent, but they fall in love with humility. You may win attention with arrogance, but you win hearts with humility. And in the long run, it is not the loudest voices that are remembered, it is the ones who led with quiet strength, respect, and humanity. Rule 6C. Adapt to change quickly. Life is a constant river of change, and whether you like it or not, that river never stops flowing. Some people try to resist it, clinging desperately to old habits, old ways of thinking, or old systems, but in the end, the river always wins. Change is not optional, it is inevitable. The only choice you truly have is whether to fight it and be left behind, or to embrace it and ride its current toward growth. The ones who win in life are not always the strongest or the most intelligent. They are the ones who adapt the fastest. Think about how the world has transformed just in the last 2 decades. Entire industries that once seemed unstoppable have vanished because they refused to change. Blockbuster, at its peak, had stores in every major city, yet it failed to adapt to the rise of streaming. Kodak invented the first digital camera but ignored it, believing film would last forever. Both are now remembered as warnings instead of role models. On the other hand, companies like Netflix, Amazon, and Apple not only embraced change but led it, reinventing themselves over and over again to stay ahead of the curve. Their success was not luck, it was adaptability. But adaptation is not only about companies or industries, it is about individuals. Every one of us faces seasons of change, graduating from school, moving to a new city, losing a job, starting a family, or facing unexpected crises like a pandemic. These moments test our ability to adjust. Some people freeze in fear, waiting for things to return to the way they used to be. Others quickly learn new skills, explore new opportunities, and adjust their mindset to the new reality. It is often the second group that comes out stronger, while the first group watches opportunities pass them by. A powerful example of adaptability can be seen in the global pandemic. Millions of people lost jobs, schools closed, businesses collapsed. But look at the people who adapted. They learned how to work remotely, how to use digital tools, how to sell online, how to create opportunities in places they had never considered before. Teachers who had never touched a video conferencing platform suddenly became online educators. Small shop owners who relied only on physical customers shifted to e-commerce. Families found new rhythms of life and learned to support each other in different ways. Adaptability became survival, and for some, it became the reason they thrived in the middle of chaos. Adaptation also means letting go of comfort zones. Growth and comfort cannot exist together. Too many people remain stuck because they are afraid to leave the familiar. They say, "This is the way I've always done it," and in those words, they bury their future. Imagine a caterpillar refusing to change because it is too afraid of the cocoon. It would never become a butterfly. The same principle applies to us. The willingness to go through uncomfortable changes is often the very thing that unlocks a higher version of ourselves. Psychologists call this the growth mindset, the ability to see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity to learn. If you lose a job, it may be painful, but it may also be a door to finally pursue your passion. If technology disrupts your profession, you can resist and complain, or you can retrain and reposition yourself for the future. The world does not stop moving to wait for you. You must move with it. And often, the people who thrive are not the most skilled at the beginning, but the most willing to keep learning and adjusting. Adaptability also builds resilience. When you train yourself to adjust quickly, life's storms do not break you. You bend, you shift, you adapt, and then you keep moving forward. Like bamboo in a storm, you may sway under pressure, but you do not snap. This is why adaptability is not only a skill, it is a mindset, a way of looking at change not with fear, but with curiosity and courage. At the heart of it, adapting to change is about survival, but it is also about winning. Those who cling to the past will always feel left behind, always wishing for the good old days. But those who embrace change keep discovering new possibilities, new strengths, and new horizons. They may stumble, they may struggle, but they never stay stuck. And in the long run, that is what makes them unstoppable. Rule 7, learn from failure. Not from comfort. Failure is one of the most misunderstood teachers in life. Most people see it as an enemy, as proof that they are not good enough, as something to avoid at all costs. But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process of success. Nobody ever achieved anything worthwhile without stumbling, without making mistakes, without facing setbacks that tested their courage. Comfort might feel good in the moment, but it rarely teaches you anything new. Failure, on the other hand, is uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but it carries lessons that no classroom, no book, and no amount of success can ever teach. Look at every great innovator, leader, or champion, and you will find a trail of failures behind them. Thomas Edison, the man credited with inventing the light bulb, failed thousands of times before he finally found the right design. When asked how he felt about failing so many times, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset turned failure into feedback, and feedback into progress. Had Edison feared failure and stayed in the comfort zone of what was safe and certain, the world might still be living in darkness. The same is true in sports. Michael Jordan, considered one of the greatest basketball players of all time, openly admitted that he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career, lost nearly 300 games, and missed 26 potential game-winning shots. Yet he said it was precisely those failures that made him succeed. Every missed shot became a lesson, every loss fueled his hunger, and every setback sharpened his skills. Comfort never would have made him the legend he became. Failure did. The reason failure is so powerful is because it forces growth. When you succeed easily, you often do not stop to ask why. You assume you are already good enough and you relax into comfort. But when you fail, you are forced to analyze, to improve, to push yourself beyond what you thought was possible. Failure exposes weaknesses, but it also reveals where you need to grow. It breaks your pride, but it builds your resilience. It may feel like a door closing, but often it is life redirecting you to a better path. Consider entrepreneurs who start businesses. Very few succeed on their first try. Most experience rejection, financial loss, and doubt from the people around them. But those who keep going, who treat each failure as a classroom, eventually discover what works. J.K. Rowling, before becoming the world famous author of the Harry Potter series, was rejected by 12 publishers. She was a single mother living on welfare, struggling to survive. But instead of letting rejection end her dream, she used failure as fuel to refine her work. Today, her books have inspired generations, all because she chose to learn from failure rather than hide in comfort. The problem is that many people fear failure so much that they never even try. They choose comfort over courage, safety over risk. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, or routines that keep them small, because they are terrified of what might happen if they step outside the familiar. But by avoiding failure, they also avoid growth. They live in a small cage decorated with comfort, while the vast field of possibilities remains locked outside. Failure is painful, yes, but pain is not always a bad thing. Think of how muscles grow. When you lift weights, you are literally tearing your muscle fibers. That tearing is painful, but it is also the process that allows the muscle to grow back stronger. Without the pain, there is no strength. In the same way, failure stretches you, tears away your illusions, and forces you to rebuild stronger. Without it, you remain weak, untested, and fragile. The key is not to fall in love with failure, but to fall in love with the lessons it brings. Do not measure yourself by how many times you fall. Measure yourself by how many times you rise. Failure is not final unless you quit. Every setback is a stepping stone. Every rejection is redirection. And every mistake is material for a better future. Comfort never demands anything from you, but failure demands everything. And in demanding, it transforms you. Rule 80, take care of your health and energy. Health is the foundation on which every dream, every achievement, and every relationship is built. Yet, it is often the most neglected part of life. People chase money, power, recognition, and material success with relentless passion. But in that pursuit, they sacrifice the very resource that makes it all possible, their health. The truth is, you can always rebuild a business. You can always find new opportunities. You can even recover from failure. But when health collapses, everything else begins to collapse with it. Without energy, even the greatest vision feels impossible. It is surprising how many people treat their health as if it were unbreakable, ignoring it until something goes wrong. They stay up late, eat carelessly, skip exercise, drown themselves in stress, and push their bodies to the limit, thinking they can always repair the damage later. But the body is not a machine that can be endlessly abused without consequence. Even the finest car in the world breaks down without proper maintenance. And the same is true for the human body. The difference is you can buy a new car, but you cannot buy a new body. Once health is lost, it is often too late to reverse. Look at how many successful people regret this too late. There are countless stories of individuals who built empires, accumulated wealth, and gained fame, only to spend their later years pouring all of that money into hospitals, doctors, and medicines. Steve Jobs himself, a genius who reshaped entire industries, admitted in his final days that wealth meant little compared to health and time. His story is a reminder that success without health is an empty prize. What is the point of achieving everything you dreamed of if you do not live long enough or strong enough to enjoy it? Health is not only about living longer, it is about living better. When you are physically strong, your mind is sharper, your emotions are more stable, and your confidence rises. Think about the days when you have slept well, eaten properly, and exercised. You approach challenges with clarity, energy, and optimism. Compare that to the days when you are exhausted, stressed, and unhealthy. Suddenly, even small problems feel overwhelming. Success requires energy, and energy comes from respecting your health. Taking care of health does not mean chasing perfection or living like an athlete. It means being intentional about your daily choices. Sleep is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Food is not just fuel for hunger, it is medicine for your body. Movement is not optional, it is essential. Too often people say, I do not have time to exercise, but in reality, they will lose far more time later dealing with illness. The time you invest in your health today is time you are buying back for your future. Mental and emotional health matter just as much as physical health. Stress, anxiety, and burnout are silent killers in our modern world. You cannot push yourself endlessly without rest. Even machines need downtime, yet many people live as if they are above the laws of nature. True strength is not only about working hard, it is about knowing when to pause, recharge, and restore. Taking a walk, spending time with loved ones, meditating, or simply allowing yourself moments of silence can be as vital as going to the gym. Protecting your mental energy is not selfish, it is survival. Relationships also thrive on health. A parent who neglects health may live long enough to provide financially, but not long enough to see their children grow. A partner who burns out chasing success may gain wealth, but lose the energy to give love and presence. If you truly care for the people in your life, taking care of yourself is one of the greatest gifts you can offer them. Because your energy is not just for you. It fuels the way you serve, love, and support others. Ultimately, health is the real wealth. Money may add comfort, but health adds life. When you are strong, energetic, and balanced, Every other area of your life benefits. Your work improves because you can focus better. Your creativity expands because your mind is clear. Your relationships deepen because you can give more of yourself. To win in life, you must guard your body and energy as carefully as you guard your career or finances, because without them, nothing else can truly last. Rule 9E, live for a purpose bigger than yourself. Success without purpose is hollow, and achievement without meaning is empty. Many people spend their lives chasing wealth, fame, and recognition, believing these things will bring fulfillment, only to discover that the satisfaction is fleeting. True victory in life comes when your actions matter beyond your own benefit, when your efforts leave a mark that continues long after you are gone. Living for a purpose bigger than yourself transforms every struggle into meaning, every sacrifice into a stepping stone, and every day into a contribution that matters. Purpose is what fuels perseverance when life becomes difficult. Anyone can feel motivated in moments of ease, but it is the people driven by a vision larger than themselves who rise repeatedly after failure. Think of Malala Yousafzai, who risked her life to fight for education for girls in a country where doing so was dangerous. Her purpose was bigger than personal safety or comfort. It was a mission to change the world. Even after a violent attack, she continued her advocacy, because her life was not just about her own comfort. It was about creating opportunity, hope, and change for millions of others. Purpose turns fear into courage, pain into determination, and obstacles into stepping stones. Living with purpose also changes the way you measure success. Without purpose, people define success in terms of money, titles, or possessions. But when your life is anchored in a higher mission, success becomes the positive impact you leave behind. It is the lives you touch, the opportunities you create for others, and the inspiration you provide. Consider healthcare workers during global crisis. They do not seek fame or fortune. They work tirelessly, often risking their own health, because they are guided by something greater than themselves. That sense of mission gives meaning to sleepless nights and exhausting days in a way that money never could. Purpose also strengthens resilience. Life will test everyone through setbacks, loss, rejection, and uncertainty. Those without purpose may crumble under pressure, questioning why they continue, why they fight, why they endure. But a person guided by purpose sees these challenges differently. Failure is not permanent, loss is not meaningless. Struggle is part of the journey toward a larger goal. Purpose becomes a compass that keeps you moving forward, even when circumstances are harsh and the path is unclear. It is what gives you the strength to rise again when others might give up. Even in small, everyday acts, purpose can make a life extraordinary. You do not need to lead a nation, invent a global technology, or change the course of history to live with purpose. Purpose can be as simple as dedicating yourself to raising compassionate children, mentoring someone who needs guidance, or improving your community. These small acts, when rooted in a greater vision, ripple outward, creating effects that can touch lives in ways you may never fully see. Living for something larger than yourself transforms ordinary life into extraordinary impact. Purpose also gives clarity to decisions. When you face choices, the question is no longer only what is easy or what is profitable. Instead, the guiding question becomes, what aligns with the mission I serve? What serves something greater than myself? That clarity eliminates confusion, reduces distraction, and provides motivation to persist even when the road is long and the rewards are delayed. It focuses your energy where it matters most and ensures that your efforts contribute to lasting change. Finally, living for a purpose bigger than yourself inspires others. People are drawn to vision, to leadership rooted in genuine contribution. When you pursue a mission beyond personal gain, you create a chain reaction. Others see your dedication, your courage, your commitment, and they are motivated to rise above their own limitations. Purpose not only elevates your life, it elevates the lives of everyone you touch, creating a legacy that endures long after your own time on this earth has ended. My friends, winning life is not about defeating others. It is about defeating your own weaknesses, growing every single day, and leaving the world a little better than you found it. So remember these 9 rules: master your mindset, control your emotions, value time, build relationships, stay humble, adapt to change, learn from failure, take care of your health, and live for a bigger purpose. If you follow them, you won't just win life, you'll inspire others to win theirs too. Thank you.